Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. This time of year, I tend to get a number of requests for people who have questions very similar to one another, and it kind of boils down to, how do I survive this holiday season of dinners and parties and familial obligations or friend obligations, work obligations with people who are not affirming? So this year I've put together a holiday season survival guide for those in the LGBTQIA+ community. It is not exhaustive by any means, but generally these things will help you make it through the things that make this time of year honestly really difficult for those in the queer community. I don't know what your situation is if you're watching this. I don't know if you are somewhere within the queer umbrella and your family either doesn't know or not all of your family is affirming. Maybe you haven't decided how to come out yet, or you're out to some of the family, but you've got some family members that are going to want to talk politics or, I don't know, talk crap on people who aren't like them. Maybe you've got a bunch of work engagements coming up and you're not in a relationship. Maybe you're ace and you're so sick of being asked when you're going to be in a relationship. Or maybe you just have people around you that have bad boundaries. Whatever it is, here are 5 tips to help make this more manageable. Tip number 1, you've got to set boundaries, and these boundaries have to be right for you. So if you're going to a family dinner and some of your family members know, maybe siblings know where you stand on things or how you're going to react in certain situations based on certain family members or people that are going to be there, right? Maybe it's one of your parents, maybe it's a cousin, whoever it is, sit down with them ahead of time. Have a conversation about how to get yourself out of those situations and out of those conversations. Maybe have a signal between the two of you. Maybe have one of you ask to go for a walk, one of you needs help somewhere. Whatever it is, talk that through ahead of time. Even if the situation that you talk through never actually comes up, it will make you feel more in control and therefore will lessen your anxiety. Be ready for questions. Just because someone asks you a question does not mean you have to answer it. It just doesn't. We get ourselves into these situations with people we care about, like friends, family, sometimes a boss or two, right? Someone asks us a question and we feel obligated to answer. You are under no obligation to answer anyone's inquiry if you don't want to. Quick story time about a boss situation. I had a boss one time that was really interested in making me come out to him. And it's illegal for my boss to straight up ask me. So one day he walks into my office. There had been a profile picture on my Facebook and I had my hand on a backpack and I was smiling and my ring was in the picture. So he came to me and said that multiple church members, it was when I was working for a church, asking him why I was wearing a wedding ring. Here's the thing. I took my picture in a front-facing camera, which means the ring looks like it's on my right hand. So they're not asking you that. Moving on, he brought that information to me and then stood in front of me. Just stood there. And I said, okay. Now, as he stood there, that was sort of a power move. That was sort of a, I'm going to wait until you answer me. But he hadn't asked a question. And he can't ask a direct question because, well, that's illegal. So I just looked at him because he hadn't asked me a question. And then he said,
what do you think I should say to them?
And I said, well, what have you been saying to them? The art of answering a question with an appropriate question without sounding like a jerk is a craft I would encourage you to master if you haven't already. I said, what have you been saying to them? He told me that he's been saying to them,
I have 3 daughters, and my daughters all wear rings in their left hands out to bars and stuff so they don't get hit on by men.
My response to this statement was, I would say that I don't wear jewelry in order to control the actions of men because I believe men should be controlling themselves. And then I sat there because, again, I gave him something. I gave a little bit into the interaction. At that point, I responded to his excusing of me because what I'm doing needs no excuse. So he looked at me for a minute and he said,
okay.
And I said, okay. And he said,
so what do we do from here?
And I said, well, I think if someone has a question about something that I'm wearing in a picture of mine on my own Facebook, maybe just direct them to me next time. And he said, okay. And he left. That was 5 months before I left. That was when I knew things were really heading downhill. Regardless, that conversation, there's a lot of takeaways that I would love for you to practice in your own boundaries with people. Silence is a powerful tool. Silence is also a power move for someone who's in power over you. You do not need to put yourself into a conversation that you don't want to be in, a family member or a family friend or a boss, whoever. You don't need to put yourself into it if you didn't request the conversation in the first place. I want you to use it as a tool to help you. in order to set up those boundaries of what you will and will not be entertaining of other people's energy. When people approach you with a question, with a statement, trying to hug you, they're coming into your energy, and you get to decide who touches your energy. That's the field around you, not just your body. Number 2, know yourself and know what you want out of the interaction. Do you want to come out to your family? Do you want to stay how you are, make things how they are, and just get through it? Something in between. What do you want from the interaction that you're about to have with these people, with this work colleague? Know what you want from the interaction. If you know the event is planned, you have time to figure that out. And it can be as simple as, I don't want anything, I don't want to go. Well, there's your answer. Then don't go if you don't have to. But if it is,
I just want things to stay the same, I don't want to have a deep conversation,
I don't want to get into things,
you can actually say that to people. This is an across the board thing. When families get together, especially for holidays or for some sort of a big celebration, things come up from arguments or conversations that happened months ago that you never had a chance to address together. You are not obligated to entertain that from someone. If someone wants to talk about something and you don't want to talk about it, a simple,
I'm choosing not to have this conversation right now.
please don't bring it up again. Thank you.
you are allowed to say that. I can't guarantee they're not going to get mad, but if they get mad, then they get mad. That's on them. You've still set your expectations, which you have every right, and honestly, I would say obligation to yourself to do. Number 3 is a favorite of mine, find balance. Rewards versus taxing events, right? If you know you're going to be having a conversation or seeing somebody you don't really want to see, give yourself a reward. The typical reward is going in a little bit tipsy. I'm not saying don't, I'm saying that might not be the only option, right?
Once I'm through with this evening, I'm going to take a bubble bath.
I'm going to call a friend, I'm going to put a movie on that I love.
I'm gonna go, I don't know, take a walk.
Whatever it is that you are going to reward yourself with for either getting to or getting through the difficult situations is a reminder that you can do those things, that you can, and you can survive it, and it doesn't have to take from you. Number 4 is practice. I want you to practice your conversations. Practice saying no. Find somebody that'll approach you the way Uncle Fred will approach you about whether or not you're dating anybody, and then practice what you're going to say. So you've already got it ready. When they come up to you and they say,
So, are you dating anybody now?
you have a couple options. You can say,
I'm dating everyone. Love is for everyone.
or you can say,
No, because nobody's actually worth my time.
or you can say,
That's none of your business. Thank you. Have a great night.
you can say any of those things or something in between. It really doesn't matter as long as it is something that you choose to say. But in the moment when you're confronted with some of those questions, you feel obligated to respond. If you've practiced your answers ahead of time, you will feel less tense and you'll be less likely to say something you don't want to say. Number 5, say no if you have to. If you know a situation is not one that you can enter into and also leave with yourself intact, say no. Don't go. Make something up if you have to. Do not put yourself in situations that are emotionally and potentially physically dangerous for you just to please a family, just to please a friend. You don't owe them anything. You don't owe people anything. You owe yourself health. You owe yourself peace. You do actually owe yourself those things because you deserve them and no one else is responsible for getting them for you. So if no one else is responsible for getting them for you and you deserve them, how do you get them? It's up to you. Say no if you have to. Say, I'll go, but I'm only spending an hour. Work out what you need to in order to do the best thing for you. Will everybody like it? No. When you start to become emotionally healthy, the people who depended on your lack of emotional health, your lack of boundaries, your lack of ability to stand up for yourself, those people are going to get angry about it. Does that mean you don't do it? No, it doesn't mean you don't do it. It means you know they're going to get angry, and here we are. That's on them. I know I said 5, but there's a bonus one. I have tons of clients that do this on a regular basis, and I've started actually doing it myself. I have friends that are doing it, and it's list making. When you know you're going to go into a situation, maybe you have an especially gaslighty type family. Maybe you have to go back to a hometown that you're afraid it's going to kind of remind you of who you were. You'll forget how much you've changed. You'll forget your coping skills. You'll forget all these things, make you who you are now. I need you to make a list. Make a list of no fewer than 5 things that you know to be true. You can start with your name. That's something you know to be true. Where you live, something you know you like, a food or a beverage or a pastime that you know you like. But make sure that things on that list include who you are, okay? And who you know yourself to be. Truthful things, at least 5. And when things start to feel too much, when they start to feel like they're getting
too big,
or too overwhelming, you take your list out and you recite them one by one, slowly breathing in and out, reminding yourself of what you know to be true. Those things will ground you. That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all next week. We're going to do some queer Thanksgiving Reddit stories. So looking forward to that. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other.